So today we're talking about the leading with our open heart and our stories around money. And today I'm going to go into. You're not going to be able to read this guy. I probably don't have it mirrored. I know from my heart when I have been using these techniques with working with clients and myself too. I think I'm my VIP client here because I'm like, oh, what am I listening to? What am I saying? What are other people saying? And I lean into that. I know that we need freedom, safety, and healing consistently. And I believe it's an everyday and discovery. When we start talking about money, there's things that can go on. So today, I'm not going to come at your brain where we're going to be like fighting those things that are like words and phrases that we say to ourselves about money. I'll bring it up, but I really want to talk about if we bring safety into our life, how that shifts our perspective on everything. And I want to do a test where we're coming in now, we're in the threshold, and we're starting to feel like how we feel about everything. Like just right now, coming in. And when we're done with the motivation around the safety pillar and connections around the money story, connections around what your future is when you really step into raw empathy, love you, authentic heart, which means nothing to you yet. But when we get into each step, I want to connect that with your money story. But I'm not really going to be talking about money, only at the beginning and the end. It really is your journey and how you're feeling about life, yourself. And you'll notice that inside is where the battle is. And that's where the key is to open up for freedom, safety, and healing in everything that you do. So when I speak about lifestyle, I'm talking about everything tethers together. Today, we're going to bring in that money story. I think there's a bigger purpose here because money isn't number one. Money's part of the energy with everything we bring together. And it's the intellect around that, like what we believe and how that can stop us. So I want to bring those things up. So my fears, I want to tell you a little bit about my background. My fears around money was, tell me if you heard any of this, money doesn't grow on trees. There's only so much money. How much money is in the bank? Because you're going to put yourself in debt. And that will stop you from making decisions. So keep staying with me here. The fear that maybe you can't hear the words, but the fear. You can feel yourself shaking sometimes. And if you own a business, when it's time to share with somebody how they can spend time with you, and people need this. This is why you have a business. This is why you bring transformation to clients. But I also want to speak to you who have a job, job, a job, because every time that you get a increase in your pay, I'll turn it back to me. But you'll find something that happens like, oh, I'm not worthy of that. Oh, 4%, or you'll get 4% or 10%. And you're like, oh my gosh, I want more. I mean, it goes back and forth. So my story is about that. When I was in the CPA world, accounting, helping people and doing really well. And every time that there was this phrasing around money, I would get scared and I didn't know what it was. I just knew I was carrying a story. And I can remember, I'll share a story that I thought would be really embarrassing when, years ago, but I got to share this with you. Think about your stories. I just want to open up that space. I can remember I got hired into a group to be part of a group, cohesiveness. And I noticed that I was nailing it. I mean, and it was because probably my background, maybe I was doing stuff that was specific to what my background was relative to others, but my role should have been how to infuse myself and listen and hear to everyone to work in a cohesive space. I came into that group. thinking I was a badass in the mind. And this is around my money story. So share with yourself everything you're feeling here about money and some of the stories and relationships you've had with people, and it's the connection with the money and the competition. So I pretended I liked them. I did actually truly actually like them. I liked every single person. But there was a pivot point there when I started noticing that I was good at some things, better than them. But my brain at that time, all I could see was all the good stuff I was doing. And you know why? Because I was competing. I was like, oh, yeah, I do that better. I do that better. Oh my gosh. I did that in fear because I thought I had to one up everyone. And I knew that every day I was feeling bad. But let me keep going with that story because that's not the beginning. Because people don't like to be treated and talked down to. No, but I was showing up like that. I'd have great conversations with everybody in my group. There were about 5 people. But when I turned my back, they were in fear of even having a relationship with me because I was showing up that I was better than them. And I didn't know I was using the words. I mean, they heard me saying these words that were limiting to what I thought about them, but I thought I wasn't. I just thought, well, I'm good. So and I thought if you're good, that's the masculine of like, oh, everybody's going to like me because that's what the number one thing is. And that's what I thought about money. And that's what I thought about the physical body. Same thing. If I think my body's in perfect shape, then I'm better than everybody. So listen to the ego. Yes, this is embarrassing, but this is the breakdown what we really need here. So I went to my boss and I said, I want a raise or I want a promotion, something. And I goes, Rhonda, you deserve a promotion because he was a good boss. He wasn't ready to tell me everything I was doing wrong. He was actually a very good mentor for me at the time. He held the safe space, calmed my jets down that I was, doing these things. And he goes, but Rhonda, right now we're short of this and this, and I do not have time. Please hold on. And I went at him. And I said, no, I want it right now. It was all around thinking my money and my title around connected with money was going to get me somewhere. And I wanted to show my group. I can't even stand the look on my face. So excuse me, but it's that look. It's like the competition, like, yeah. But now it's different, but I'm in the space of what I was feeling at that moment. And I was at him for months. And you know what? He never let me go or never tried to fire me. And I'm so proud of him because think about that space and what I was doing. And I was tearing all my relationships up. I was so afraid to have more money. I was making more money at that point than I ever have. I was in fear of that. I was in fear that actually these ladies really liked me. And I didn't know how to believe in that. And I actually did a meditation this morning about that. When you start making changes, and I noticed this on myself, my mind would start saying, Rhonda, you're not that good. Rhonda, you're not that nice. It's that imposter syndrome. I was wearing it all the time. I mean, all the time. So the exterior of me, I want it to look perfect. If I had one hair out of place, which I probably had tons of hairs out of place, but I kept fixing myself, that I was leveraging myself down instead of leveraging myself up. So exterior, wanting to be big and bold, but ego, not heart, not love, not coming in, but I was in battle. I was in battle every day. I didn't serve any purpose for myself. And this is important. I'm really speaking about everybody else too. But if we don't serve ourselves, then we serve nobody. So I was ignoring what I was doing because I was revved up and I was just looking on the exterior. And all I could see were these focal points of, I'm better than you at this. Well, that person I was looking at, they had so much more that they knew. They had so many years in the department. They knew what they were doing. But I had this on them and that and this. And every 5 of them or 4 or 3, whatever, depending on how the department flexed, within 5 years. Again, my boss was a good boss because he dealt with me. So when I start looking at these pillars, this is really important to me. These pillars were created, and I decided not to work through the brain. So when we're connecting with our money, the first thing I want you to think about is if I came in on nurturing myself and I started hearing the goodness, the good part about myself, then would it change my world? Would it change my money? Would it change my money story? Would it change my relationships within myself, within everybody else? Can I love out here to love my husband the way that I love out here? Am I pretending? I need to look to see how I'm treating my husband because my husband is connected with my money story also. Because any fraud effect that happens in my day is going to connect with everybody. And so I need to be need. This is like a yearn. So let's reframe the Webster dictionary of what need is. And let's just kind of flip it really in the yearning. I'm yearning to really discover the bigger, bolder picture of all this. That when I look up at the sky in the morning, that I am not getting lost and how small I truly actually am to the whole world. So if I can play with the world and play with my insides within my four walls, then I'm going to believe in every step that I do in this safety pillar. When I created the freedom, safety, and healing pillar, I was in a space of brain, do not build these. And things just started coming out. Three words. Three words. I'd walk by my home office and I had this big board and I just write down these three words. Example, fabulous, raw, you got this. It means nothing, but those three words, ba-bum bum. Days go on, I keep building this, have no idea what I'm doing with it. I just know that I'm creating something. Why I'm bringing this up, intuition is going to be the space that you want to work in today. So the more that you open yourself up, partner with your brain, open your brain to your heart, get cohesive and feel your body to when you feel stressed so that you can get more into calm space and see what your words and framing are saying within your body, within your mind. Because we say 60 to 70,000 words a day. And 80% of that is known in general terms, 80% is known to be negative. And then we have cycles. So out of that 80%, 90% of the words that we say to ourselves are cycled every day. That's why we feel comfortable with it. That's why we can do all these different things and not even really think about it. We don't hear our brain because of the same stories that we keep building on top of each other. When you start studying the brain, you learn these stories just get wrapped in. And if you learn this, then you realize 90 seconds into a story and getting lost, it's going to go on top of another story and another story. And it's hard to break the story out of your brain. So let's play with this. When I think of creating income, receiving income, it's so easy to feel raw. It's so easy to feel, oh, I'm scared. I have some fear around here. Anytime, I would say a high level of time, I feel like, oh, this is new. So when is it in your life where you feel like things are new and you're feeling scared? And think about when you're going through all this new stuff, you're creating your business or you're leveling up in where you're working. And if you carry this, you're deflecting everything, all the conversations you're having and your money story. Oh my gosh, they're going to go rampant in your body and your health and wellness. Shaking it up, you'll be scared. But whatever word you use, clearing the raw, we need the safety so that we can feel calm in our body. Let's go for another one. Learning to have empathy for yourself. So when these things are coming at you, sometimes you don't hear the words and phrases, but you're doing really good stuff that day, but you feel yucky. There's just something that feels uncomfortable. And you're thinking, well, why am I feeling so bad today? All these great things are happening. And that's where the fraud stuff starts coming into the brain. Oh, you're not that good. And whatever your words are, however your body feels, then that is what can be showing up is those words that are cutting you down. And you don't realize it, but the empathy, taking a step back and thinking, what kind of feelings can I have for myself to really help me get through this? Empathy. Okay, Rhonda, I'm so sorry. I hear you. Because our body gets the energy. Our body has all the stories of our brain has the stories, our body creates the energy, the nervousness, the ticking, the whatever. That's all natural from all the stories. Our body reacts. That's how we get sick. I care about you, Rhonda. I need to be careful. And anybody else you stepped on, it gives you an opportunity to level up instead of going, "Oh, I'm so sorry I did that for you. I did that to you. I'm so sorry I showed up that way." Like that kind of like, ugh. But you're leveling up because you feel this empathy for yourself. It creates a stronger you. Then you go to the person that you affected because who knows who you affected for the day, and you go, "Hey," and you're ready for the conversation and you're aware of what's going on. And I think about like, what is our authentic space? Like where'd we come from? Because the next area here coming up in the safety pillars about living and leaning in more into your authenticity, getting rid of the stories that are in the background and really still seeing yourself. And I remember I worked, and it sounds like you too, I worked at a very, very young age mowing lawns. And so, and I always liked the little candies. We used to go to the store where the corner store were right in front of the cash register. Every candy was like 1 to 2 pennies. And so I had a paper out also. I mean, like any kind of work I could find, because for me, I always discovered, I thought my worth was how can I serve? But that was the only thing I thought that was my worth. That's always, worked all the time, work, work, work. But I remember eating all those candies going, "Oh my God, I just earned all this money." And there was like probably 50 different colors of, and I think it was um, Jolly Ranchers. And so it wasn't 50, but it felt like it. But I mean, it literally was in front. So nobody could steal it too, because it was like all just loose and ready to pull. And that was my way of being able to spend, but also talking about that area of authenticity. You know what I find wonderful in working up this pillar in safety is that when you start taking away just the old stories of things that don't serve us, because we have some great stories about growing up, but there's also the other side that really builds. And how can we break those layers and start listening more? And the more that we do that, the more that we'll utilize our money for good things also. Because I think about this. When I first started my business, I kept saying, okay, I'm making all this money, so I'm going to go and invest it in myself. Well, that's good. But if you don't have that money ahead of time, but you're bringing in good money, you're spending all that money, plus you're putting yourself in debt because you're like, oh, well, there's going to be more money coming because, I'm still breaking through that ego. And it took a while for me to get authentic with myself of all those money stories were really affecting how I was treating my money. And I get aware every single year when I close my books, the more I become aware of what I'm looking for. And I'll be like, boy, I thought my revenue was not as much as that. Okay. And then I take a moment to love on myself because I'm like, here, wait, I've broken myself down myriad of times because I'm like, well, you need to make more money. You need to make more money. And take a step back and I go, there were days when I was in my money story and I wasn't standing like what you were saying, Laura. We're entrepreneurs. And I believe we really all are, but it just depends on your story. Because if you're working for somebody, Haven't you gone out there and done something so different than everybody else, or you had those thoughts, but maybe you didn't move forward? That is the entrepreneur space. The other part is collecting the money and spending it where it should be spent. That's what how you be successful as an entrepreneur, and you keep that going. But no matter what, our money story is very tricky because those stories hold us into this box. And if we stay in that box, we'll feel small. And so when you look up at the stars, sometimes it can be scary, or you look at the sunrise and sunset because another day has gone by and you're not feeling yourself. And you're like, I'm supposed to be doing something bigger. I just don't know what it is. What is it? And you can keep going in circles. And when you are receiving money, some big stuff comes up. So think about everybody as I'm recording this too. Think about when you're feeling something that just doesn't serve you emotionally. You just don't feel right. And you may be used to it. I go, yeah, I feel like this all the time. I feel scared all the time. That was one of my stories. It's like, it was normal. Oh, you're not worthy. Oh, yeah, no, that's normal. Oh, you go into a room. Oh, yeah, they're better than me because you see how the story flipped from at the beginning. I was in a group and I was like thinking all these awesome things I was doing and, how dare them think, whatever it was. But they had tons of girth that they were doing because they were in that department for years. So then when I don't know a room, I'd flip it and I would think, because this is all around my worthiness, and I would think I am not up to the level. I would see all the stuff that I wasn't doing because I didn't know them. I didn't have time to prove it to them. So I put on all these different masks. And to take those masks off, it really does take the last part here is heart. To know when you are hurting your heart and knowing when you are really healing and opening up your heart. These 5 steps is all heart. When you open up your heart, you can feel vulnerable and cry real easily. But if you give yourself time to feel that raw space, that first step, to know that, yes, you haven't opened your heart up to other people that much, but this is where we need to go in this world. And learning how to shield or protect yourself is also very important. But that last step, it's so high up there, right next to safety, is you can work that pillar every single day. And you're going to find yesterday you may have been higher in your heart because you just felt love. Like your exterior, everything was going great. Something happens to you the next day, whatever it is, like happens to you outside your outside world, all of a sudden your heart goes down where it's just like muffled. In my family, heart attacks happen, always pinching and holding and playing, opening and closing the heart and angry and that we hold a lot of space in that area unless we're learning and growing. So if we take a breath in and we bring in the spaces of each step, raw, empathy, love you, authentic, heart. You get to create your definitions with every part of that. But the more that you see what percentage you're in of each step, you're going to find that the safety is going to make and create your day in a bigger way. And I want to bring that up because if you have the exterior create a decision for you how you're going to show up for the day, you're most likely always going to go wrong. So if you use these steps, you're building yourself before you even get to your clients or get to your job, and you really look at the truth so that internally you get to make the decision. Nobody takes on your energy, no energy vampires. So those are the 5 steps that I had to understand what these words were that I was putting together. That was really interesting. And so like all of a sudden they were just words just thrown out there because actually have 2 other pillars that all grow up to like the top level. So sometimes we don't know what we're creating. It's the trust and really believing that we got this. And the steps do work in that if you step into this, then you are creating a bigger capacity of what you can hold because like what you said, Laura, all the stories are within your heart. And if you don't scrub that and keep learning, then I know I'd be afraid every day. And I'm done with that. I'm done with that. It'll show up. Of course, we're human, but it's the choices that we make. Laura, thank you for being here and everybody else I'm recording. This is coming out to you, and I appreciate you so much. Nice to see you, Laura. Let's catch up. Let's get something on the calendar, my friend. I can't wait to hear all the stuff you have going on.